So you see a big wave here, and the point of that wave is that it's now really happening. So we've been talking a lot in the industry about cloud, mobility, big data, and those are nice buzzwords, but it seems to really now become a really big wave and a mega trend that we want to address. And that mega trend is really starting to transform business processes and the way IT is run and how business models have adopted, and it enables those new business models. So there's a massive digital disruption going on, and it seems that there's an appetite in people using IT and how organizations respond to that, and how then IT, the whole IT industry, can help to enable that. And that's really happening. And Dell as a vendor and the whole IT industry at large has to adapt and to help customers to help with that transformation. Now, there's a couple of things that are important there. There is a very positive, proactive side, but there is also quite a dangerous side. And what we're just want to show with a couple of examples is that that digital disruption demands action. And I've put a number of examples here on the slide, and you're probably really familiar with the taxi war that's going on between Uber and the traditional black cabs here in London. Super hot topic. Blockbuster. Does anybody still remember Blockbuster? Right? They're wiped out completely because the new technology allows to have a much better customer service and customer experience for a much lower price. So Netflix has taken that market, but actually at the moment needs to adapt as well, because Amazon is going in and is already disrupting the Netflix model, and so they need to be alert. And then also maybe interesting, the disruptor of disruptors, Apple, is now being disrupted because Spotify has turned upside down the music business, and of course Apple has been quite nimble and is now, as you know, has launched Apple Music. So there's a need for action, and this goes on and on and on. Ocado in the supermarket industry, Funding Circle in the banking industry. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Probably in your own organization, there's opportunity and risk, and that's what we need to address. So there's a lot of IT that goes underneath there, and there's a notion of how we call it traditional IT and the new IT paradigm, and they're quite different. And traditionally, we used to work with, and we're still working with, systems of record, very transaction-oriented. The business models and business processes are completely different than on the new side, which is systems of engagement, relationship-oriented, and the new business models are different. And I like this really at the bottom there. Analytics is the business, and for that you need a lot of different IT systems. Now both exist and continue to coexist, and both are good. The point is that it depends on what kind of business model you run, what kind of IT architecture you may need. So we're just taking two examples here of Dell customers. On the left side, a regional bank, and on the right side, a hyperscale search provider. And these are live examples that are Dell customers, and both have a very different business model, very different business processes, and a very different approach to how their IT setup is designed. So at the level of business processes, software and application design model, and infrastructure design model, it's very different. So for example, on the new IT side, on the hyperscale search provider example, the service that needs to be delivered needs to be fast, it needs to be reasonably accurate, and it needs to be free to users, because the users have a free user model. And then so they run an open source OS with custom in-house developed middleware, and then they drive massive indexing and merging capabilities real time, obviously to have a very fast response time. And then it's all built on commodity class x86 servers, a very flat networking structure, and direct attached storage. So what's now really interesting is these both models are happening and are still relevant. It's just different on the business model. The interesting thing is form follows function, and it depends on what your business model is. Now, what's also interesting is these are two examples of, let's say, a large bank and a very large search provider. But the technology is now coming to be available also for much smaller organizations. For example, you may know that there was 3 engineers from Google that together founded Nutanix. They're taking that knowledge and the way they set up the Google infrastructure into a new class and a software-defined storage solution with Nutanix, for example. So which is available already from like clusters with 3 nodes and scales out infinitely, if you like. So that becomes available, that type of technology becomes available for much smaller organizations as well. So what we're trying to say is that the future of the IT architecture is going to be a combination of compute and software. So, and they need to work very well together. So what we are all very familiar with is the best of breed system. So it's server, storage, and networking working together, but in silos, if you like. The next steps, we call it systems of systems, which is the converged architecture. And we have a couple of examples on the stand. We have the Vertex, and I'll go a little bit deeper on our next generation, that's the FX2, where effectively we have modular systems that are integrated in one box with systems management that makes it really work together. But there's already the next step, which is more the software-defined era, which is a compute-centric, software-driven systems, and also that's now becoming real and available also for those organizations that are not hyperscale. And it's all around built around the future-ready IT design tenets, and that's almost sacred within our organization. It's based on open standards, it's modular, highly cost-effective, and it's automated. So it's very scalable and very low cost and easy to manage. So back to that picture of the traditional and the new IT, our goal is also to not have the 2 silos in the IT infrastructure, but allow both models to run effectively on the same compute-centric, software-driven platform. And that's the goal, and therefore it becomes flexible and future-ready. I'm going to skip this one. So here's my example of making it real. So this is an example of the converged system that I mentioned earlier, the FX2, and it combines the best of a number of worlds. So the best of Blade, modular storage, all flash arrays. You can effectively plug and play those 4 sledges into a pane at the back, and it works all together, dependent on your IT infrastructure. So it has a huge amount of advantages in terms of density, in terms of compute power, in terms of storage side, on the server side storage, and also in terms of cabling and getting it all to work. So a really interesting next step, if you like, on the converged side. And then we have, as I mentioned, the hyper-converged setup with Dell's software-defined solutions portfolio. So there's not one size fits all a type of software-defined storage. It runs across a number of different software solutions. We partner with Nutanix, VMware, Nexenta, Microsoft, Red Hat, and effectively it runs on either an appliance where it's completely integrated, or it can run on our, for example, the FX2 converged infrastructure side. So it means we have an enterprise class infrastructure it's optimized hardware and monitoring, and it's integrated end-to-end. And of course, it comes then with all the pro deploy and pro support options from Dell to make it work. And then the last point I'm going to make is Dell does digital strategy. So we're here to help companies and organizations to move over to the next era and to help making that transformation. Dell has a lot of different service options, if you like, around big data. We acquired a company called Statistica, which really helps to make the most out of a huge amount of data that you may have. We do mobile apps. Not a lot of people know about it, but we can, and we have about 10,000 engineers across the globe that help to make those mobile apps and integrate with the backend. We are a leader in terms of social and social listening, and we can share that knowledge as well. And then, of course, cloud services. So we don't operate our own cloud, but we are a cloud broker, and we have software that manages cloud. We have really good software that manages the migration of data between clouds, and we make that secure, obviously. So Dell does digital transformation and can help you along the way. And then this is the last slide. I just wanted to say we love to ride that wave together. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them or visit us at the stand down below. Thank you very much.